want to welcome you all to 21st Century Educators. This is our first program in the mental health aspect of our program called Can't Pour from an Empty Cup. And you all should recognize me. I'm Latoya. I've been talking to you all about fitness and health and so on for the past couple of weeks. And today we are doing our first chat with Dr. T, right, who will introduce herself and she will talk to us about what are the things that we can do to identify when our cup is being drained. So I'm going to hand over to Dr. T, who will introduce herself.
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Latoya, for having me. This is a topic that I'm very passionate about. Again, like Latoya said, I'm Dr. T. My full formal name is Dr. Tenille Richardson-Quamina. I am the CEO and Clinical Director of New Creations Caribbean. And I'm very excited to be here to talk about this topic today.
All right. So, Dr. T, since this is our first inaugural chat, right, for our program, Can't Pour from an Empty Cup. I said what we will do, we will focus today on identifying what are those things that really can drain our cup.
Mm-hmm. Well, there are a lot of things that can drain our cup. And one of the important things to recognize is a lot of things that we may not be aware of that could be draining our cup. One thing that we may or may not be aware of is untreated mental health. And as women, anxiety and depression is a mental health challenge that is very prevalent. Unfortunately, because of stigma, it does not allow us to ask and seek for the help when we need it. There is also this myth or societal pressure that, we have to be strong women, and that motherhood is always rainbows and butterflies. So, if you are having a challenge, for example, postpartum depression, if you are having a challenge like that, societal pressure will tell you, well, you're a mother now, and those are things that, are not acceptable, and what's going on, and everything's supposed to be perfect. So if I'm feeling this way, then something is wrong with me, and I can't ask others for help. Also, one of the things that is a little unknown is called the sandwich generation. And as we all know, because of technology, and a lot of us are living a lot older. A lot of our loved ones are living a lot older. And as women, we are usually the caregivers in our family. So as the caregiver, not only are we caring for our own children, but we are also caring for our parents and our grandparents, hence us being in this sandwich generation where, because we are living longer, we are caring for loved ones who maybe a generation back may not have been with us, and we're just caring for our children. So we're put right in the middle where, we're stretched even more because we're providing care for two different generations. So two different sides of the bread. We talked a little bit about postpartum depression and how the stigma behind that, but also in terms of perimenopause and how that can impact us. If you were susceptible to postpartum depression, once you are at the stage of your life where you may be transitioning into menopause, you are more likely to experience some challenges there. And because of the hormones, it can really impact our mental health. And, we're worried about, oh, child, I'm hot. Or, we're worried about the physical aspects, but a lot of times we forget that there is some mental health piece of it as well. And another aspect that can drain our cup is what we call invisible labor. And this is really, I love the term invisible labor because it really speaks to the mental labor that as women, sometimes we have the tendency to take on as gender roles, or we talked a little bit about expectations in society, but invisible labor speaks to a lot of the planning, a lot of the focus, scheduling, all of these unseen, unpaid, unacknowledged tasks that we have to do on a day-to-day basis to be successful. So for example, in most families, the women are usually the ones who keep up with the family birthdays and order the presents for the holidays, and
Yes.
you know, keeping up with the kids' homework schedule, when this big project is due, when they have their spelling test, when is the medication going to run out in the home, when I need to order, you know, my child's asthma medication. Just a lot of these things that we naturally do, but we don't take the time to realize how it can really drain our cup.
Wow, that's a lot of things, and we're juggling all of these things.
Yes,
we are juggling all of these things. It is frightening. I mean, what stood out to me, what you said something about if you experience postpartum, then you're more susceptible to the symptoms of perimenopause and stuff. That stood out to me as well. And the sandwich thing, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And
it's nice to just have a label to it so that you understand what you're going through. We feel the pressure, we become overwhelmed, we know what it feels like, but we don't understand what's happening to us because sometimes we don't talk about these things and we don't have a label to it. So once we can say, okay, I'm feeling overwhelmed because I'm in a sandwich situation here, I'm a sandwich generation. It gives us sometimes the permission to understand what we're going through and to get that help when we need it.
Right. So that leads to the next question. Now that you have listed and identified all of these things, then how as individuals, we ourselves living our everyday lives, how can we identify what we are experiencing?
The first symptom or sign is usually physical. It's okay for us to recognize our physical changes. A lot of times we're not given permission to recognize when mental health is changing, when our mental health is changing because of the stigma to it. So I encourage everyone, you know, as we continue to broaden our horizons and get a better understanding of the benefits of therapy and counseling and group supports and things like that. Well, physical changes, we can pick up on that really quickly. So things like tension, headaches, you know, if you're noticing lately that, wow, I'm really starting to get a lot of colds. Before I can't remember the last time I had a cold. So you're starting seeing some of those changes. Things are starting to irritate you a little more. You're starting to be a little annoyed. You have a quicker fuse. You may notice that you have some negative self-talk going on. Might be some mood swings. And when we think about the physical things, this mental litmus paper for when you think something might be going on. If you're seeing changes, whether there is an increase or a decrease in your sleep, your appetite, or your academic or work performance, the three look out for when we start to assess to see if there might be any mental health influences in terms of what's going on with us. Now, for trouble saying no, if you find yourself a lot of times in the place where you're taking on a lot of things, you're not a sign that, okay, I'm overloading myself here. And when we are overloaded, our brain has the tendency to get a little cloudy. If you're noticing that you're confused, if you're noticing that you're making a lot of mistakes, maybe at work or in school, things that, you know, you're not used to doing, you have a lack of focus, those are the kind of things that you want to look for as signs that something might be going on.
Oh, so things to look out for. Right. So, all right. So my final question.
Yes.
So now we have identified some of the things to look out for. What tips can you give us to some of these things?
First thing I encourage everyone to do, especially speaking about some of those signs and symptoms that we just mentioned, making sure that you have regular check-ins with yourself. So for example, if it's a Sunday, usually Sundays are a little slower, just checking in with yourself briefly. How was this week for me? Did I feel like I was overwhelmed? Did I feel like I was able to take care of what I needed to take care of? Am I seeing some of the changes in my sleep diet, or excuse me, my sleep appetite, or my performance at work? So having those regular check-ins so that you can see if there are any physical or mental changes and become a little bit aware of them. Because when we are overwhelmed, when we are grinding, when we are on the go, we don't have the tendency to slow down and check in and even really see that something is changing within us. Also, in terms of scheduling, making sure that you set aside consistent self-care, put it in your calendar. If it's once a week, if it's once a month, if it's once every 3 months, we're making sure that it's consistent and that time is protected. So whether that self-care means, taking a walk in the park by yourself, or maybe with some friends, or going and having a spa day, it doesn't always have to be these grandiose things, but something that you're doing on a consistent basis to check in and take care of yourself. Delegate. It is okay to ask for help. It is okay to shift some of the responsibilities that we have to other people. And we talked about earlier with some of those signs and symptoms, not saying no, but being uncomfortable with saying no happens to us a lot. So sometimes we just have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable to say no. That level of discomfort doesn't always magically go away, because we care for people. We want to make sure that they're happy and taken care of, but we have to be able to turn some of that care to ourselves, and sometimes just being comfortable with being uncomfortable to say no. Also, looking for support groups, whether they're online or offline. I'll put myself on the chopping block here. When I first became a mother, those societal pressures that we talked about motherhood, it's going to be rainbows and butterflies. That's what I had in my head. That's what I was thinking. And at the time when reality set in and you're up at every 2 hours and you're sleeping and you're tired, I actually joined a group online that really talked about the reality of being a mother, and it supported us, and it helped me understand that yes, there are moments where there are rainbows and butterflies, but yes, there are moments too that are very challenging, and looking for resources to help you through those challenging moments. So that online group was a lifesaver for me as a new mother. So also reaching out to our support systems, whether they're friends, family, our church group, our support systems that we know and trust when we are in the need to fill our cup, letting them be there for us to fill that cup. And also knowing that there are counseling and therapy services out there that can provide that support, that can provide that guidance, that can be that non-judgmental space for you to go and vent and get some support that way as well.
Thank you so much, Dr. T. I mean, this is really, really helpful information. So once we identify what our symptoms are, we can then look for ways to address it. So at least pursue self-care, exercise. Yes, I love these points. So members, you all have heard for yourself. Again, this is our first session on identifying what can drain our cup and what we can do to address that problem, because again, we can't pour from an empty cup. So Dr. T provides the services, and we are going to share the link with you all if you want to reach out to Dr. T and her company, because definitely we are out to promote mental health, not just physical, but your mental health as well. So 21st Century Educators, thank you all for joining us. Look out for other videos that we're going to have. We're going to have Dr. T again talking with us. And I encourage you all, if there are things you think we should address under the aspect of mental health, reach out to us, send us a little comment, right? And we are really open to hearing your feedback and your comments if you want us to address something in particular. So thank you so much, Dr. T. We really appreciate your time this afternoon, and we look forward to seeing and discussing some more of these issues with you as we move towards identifying the ways that we can fill our cup, because we know we cannot pour from an empty cup. Thank you, Dr. T.
Thank you for having me. Everybody take care.